Dear friends and comrades, I would like to convey our community greetings of the Unified Communist Party of Georgia and Socialist Platform of Georgia. Representatives of various organizations and socialist movements have gathered in the hall today, united by one common goal: to help to prevent a global catastrophe where the imperialist forces led by USA and NATO are leading us all. We fully share the general spirit of all our friends who are speaking at this conference. As you know, Ukraine is repeating the post-Soviet path of the history of Georgia, which turned us unfortunately into the main anti-Russian country in the South Caucasus region. In 2003, an unconstitutional coup took place in Georgia, the so-called Rose Revolution. Anti-Russian propaganda, militarization, and the degree of the police pressure of the opposition increased sharply. Arrest of the political objectionable people begin. Secret special group were created to physically eliminate the opponents of the regime. This is one main regime of the former President Saakashvili was established in our country. A large-scale anti-Ossetian and anti-Abkhaz campaign unfolded. Eventually, in August 2008, the regime began military action against the separate region of South Ossetia. Moscow, which has repeatedly warned the Saakashvili regime not to embark on the military adventure, deployed its armed forces. Georgia faced its most powerful northern neighbor in a direct military conflict, which ended into a disaster to country, and the euro fell into three pieces. The economy stopped, and many civilians lost their lives. In 2012, against the backdrop of an acute political crisis, the Saakashvili regime fell and the moderate political forces came to power. Regarding one of the main specific issues of the conference, the conflict in Ukraine, we must note that the anti-constitutional Kiev coup of 2014 directly affected the international political situation in Georgia. The ultra-right revanchist forces immediately become more active and begin the attempt to destabilize the situation over again. Over the years, such attempts of destabilization have escalated several times into attempts to break into parliament and other government institutions. In 2019, Kiev Intelligence Service carried out a special operation against Georgia and ensured the secret transfer of former President Saakashvili across the state border in order to lead the coup before the local parliamentary election. As a result, the adventurer was detained and the attempt of destabilization was prevented. A last attempt of violent coup was prevented by the country state security service laterally months ago. The Kiev authorities openly support the far-right forces of Georgia. They have repeatedly called on Georgia to invite the breakaway republics of Abkhazia and South Ossetia and repeat the 2008 adventure. We know that the Kiev junta will not calm down and will continue to organize provocation against Georgia in order to force it to join the anti-Russian military confrontation and destroy the same way it destroyed the country under its control and the Ukrainian people. Only Hitler did this to his people. The USA and the EU are coordinating their action with the Kiev and exerting representative pressure on the Tbilisi. The Georgian government holds a defense position and does not allow the country to join the anti-Russian economic blockades, which would lead to an economic disaster. As you know, the Georgia receives the lion's of shares of energy resources as well as such as social important products as wheat, flour, sunflower oil, buckwheat and other products from neighboring Russia. where it also exports its agricultural products. Even an economic confrontation with Russia, not to mention a military one, would cause a socio-economic catastrophe and lead to revenge of the pro-fascist aggressive forces. Dear friends, Russia was forced to stop in the time the process of turning the huge neighboring country into a costly military feast in the hands of NATO. Today, it is Russia that plays the role of the main force preventing the spread of the far-right fascist infection to this post-Soviet space. In the event of a military victory for Kiev, interethnic and interreligious confrontation will immediately escalate throughout the post-Soviet space, including Central Asia and even Russia itself. The fire of the war and destabilization will spread everywhere. Georgia has already gone through the fascist Saakashvili regime, through war and devastation, and does not want to turn back into chaos. We are horrified by the Kiev's open pressure over Tbilisi, while their blatant attempts to interfere in the internal affairs of Georgia. We consider the Kiev regime an enemy not only of the Georgian but also of the Ukrainian people. That is why many progressive social and political forces in Georgia support the Russian military operation, considering the operation necessary, caused by the international logic of the development of the events that took place and the difficult but forced decision by the political leadership of the Russian Federation. Russia was forced to prevent further advance of the NATO and the Eastern Bloc and stop the further strengthening of the Ukrainian anti-Russian military round. The Russian Federation could not fight for the moment when the point of no return would come and the United States would gain and seize the strategic military advantage, which would give it the opportunity to dictate terms and turns Russia into an absolutely dependent colonial entity. We also support the right of the Palestinian people in order to work and live in a peace in their own state. The ongoing war in Gaza sector today represents the genocide of the Palestinian people and violence of their right. We appeal to Israel to cease the fire in order to stop the killing of thousands of civilians, including women and children. At the stage of the cessation of the violence is a vital needed, and in the end issue must be resolved fairly with the full realization of the right and freedom of the Palestinian people. Dear friends, we are took part in the preparatory meetings of the conference and know about the serious working done by the organizing committee. Thanks again and good luck to your batch.